Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. The hospital room was quiet, save for the steady beep of monitors and the soft hum of medical equipment. Avani lay on the bed, her dark hair splayed across the pillow, eyes fixed on the ceiling tiles above. The pale blue gown draped over her body seemed to accentuate the pallor of her skin. A gentle knock on the door broke the stillness. Dr. Patel entered, clipboard in hand, a reassuring smile on her face. "How are you feeling, Avani?" Avani's gaze shifted to the doctor, a mix of anxiety and hope in her eyes. "Nervous, I guess, but ready." Dr. Patel nodded, her dark eyes warm with understanding. "That's perfectly normal. We've gone over the procedure, but do you have any last-minute questions?" Avani's fingers twisted the edge of the blanket. Will it fix everything from before?" The doctor's expression softened. "This surgery will address the complications from your previous procedure. It's a significant step, but remember, transition is a journey. We're here to support you every step of the way." A nurse appeared in the doorway, her scrubs a cheerful purple. "We're ready, Dr. Patel." As they prepared to wheel Avani to the operating room, she closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. This was it, another step towards becoming who she truly was. Hours later, Avani slowly regained consciousness, the world around her a blur of muted colors and distant sounds. As her vision cleared, she saw a familiar face, her brother, Clay. "Hey, sleepyhead," Clay said, his voice low and gentle. He reached out, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. "How you feeling?" Avani blinked, her throat dry. "Like I got hit by a truck," she croaked. Clay chuckled softly, reaching for a cup of water. "Well, you look a lot better than someone who got hit by a truck." As Avani sipped the water, she studied her brother's face. The worry lines around his eyes, the slight stubble on his chin. He must have been here for hours. "You didn't have to stay," she murmured. "Are you kidding? Of course I did." Clay's eyes were serious now. "You're my sister, Avani. I'm here for you, always." Tears pricked at Avani's eyes. She'd been so afraid of rejection, of losing her family. But here was Clay, steadfast and supportive. Dr. Patel entered the room, her white coat crisp against her dark skin. "Good to see you awake, Avani. The surgery went well. We were able to address the complications from your previous procedure." Avani nodded, relief washing over her. "What's next?" "Rest and recovery for now," Dr. Patel replied. "Once you're healed, we'll discuss the next steps in your transition, if that's what you want." Avani's heart quickened. "Yes," she said, her voice stronger now. "I want to continue, to fully transition." Clay's hand tightened around hers, a silent show of support. Dr. Patel smiled. "All right then. We'll set up appointments with our counseling team and discuss medical options when you're ready." As the doctor left, Avani turned to Clay. "I'm scared," she admitted. "But I know this is right. It's who I am." Clay nodded, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "I know, sis, and I'm proud of you. So damn proud." The days that followed were a blur of recovery and planning. Avani met with counselors, discussed hormone therapy options, and began to envision her future as her true self. One afternoon, as Avani sat in her hospital bed, laptop open to research support groups, there was a soft knock at the door. She looked up to see her mother, Diane, standing in the doorway. Diane hesitated, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Can I come in?" Avani nodded, her heart racing. She and her mother hadn't spoken much since Avani had first come out. The silence between them had been a chasm of unspoken words and fears. Diane crossed the room slowly, taking in the sight of her child in the hospital bed. She perched on the edge of the chair beside the bed, her eyes roaming Avani's face. "How are you feeling?" Diane asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Better," Avani replied. "The pain's not as bad now." Silence stretched between them, heavy with all the things left unsaid. Finally, Diane reached out, her hand hovering over Avani's before gently settling on top. "I'm sorry," Diane said, her voice cracking. "I'm sorry I haven't been here for you. I was scared. I didn't understand." Avani's throat tightened. "Mom?" "No, let me finish," Diane insisted. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of reading, and I realized I've been so focused on who I thought you were that I wasn't seeing who you really are." She took a deep breath. "You're my child, my daughter, and I love you, Avani. I love you, and I want to support you." Tears spilled down Avani's cheeks. She turned her hand, gripping her mother's tightly. "I love you too, Mom." Diane stood, wrapping her arms around Avani in a gentle hug. As they held each other, years of tension and fear began to melt away. When they finally pulled apart, both wiping at their eyes, Diane gestured to the laptop. "So what are you working on?" Avani smiled, a weight lifting from her shoulders. "Looking into support groups. Want to help me find one?" As mother and daughter bent their heads over the computer screen, a new chapter in their relationship began to unfold. Weeks passed, and Avani's recovery progressed steadily. She started hormone therapy, each day bringing subtle changes that made her feel more like herself. The support of her family, especially Clay and her mother, was a constant source of strength. One sunny afternoon, Avani stood in front of her bedroom mirror, studying her reflection. She ran her hands over the soft fabric of her new blouse, a deep purple that complemented her skin tone. Her hair, growing out now, framed her face in gentle waves. A knock at the door interrupted her contemplation. "Come in," she called. Clay poked his head in, grinning. "Hey, sis, you ready?" Avani took a deep breath, smoothing her hands over her jeans. "As ready as I'll ever be." Today was a big day, her first support group meeting. She'd been nervous about going, but Clay had offered to drive her and wait outside for moral support. As they drove to the community center where the meeting was held, Avani's nerves jangled. "What if they don't like me?" she blurted out. Clay glanced at her, his expression softening. "They're going to love you, Avani. Just be yourself." They pulled into the parking lot and Clay turned off the engine. "Want me to walk you in?" Avani shook her head. "No, I think I need to do this part on my own." Clay nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I'll be right here when you're done. You've got this." With a deep breath, Avani stepped out of the car and walked towards the building. Her heart pounded as she pushed open the door and followed the signs to the meeting room. As she entered, several heads turned her way. A woman with short, spiky hair and kind eyes approached her. "Hi there, I'm Meg. Is this your first time?" Avani nodded, her voice catching in her throat. Meg smiled warmly. "Well, welcome. We're just getting started. Come on, I'll introduce you to everyone." As Avani followed Meg into the room, she felt a sense of belonging wash over her. These people understood her journey in a way no one else could. The meeting was a whirlwind of introductions, shared stories, and advice. Avani found herself opening up, sharing her fears and hopes with people who truly understood. As the meeting wound down, Meg approached Avani again. "How are you feeling?" Avani smiled, a genuine, radiant smile. "Good, really good. Thank you for making me feel so welcome." Meg squeezed her shoulder. "That's what we're here for. See you next week?" Avani nodded, already looking forward to it. As she walked back to the car, she saw Clay sitting on the hood, scrolling through his phone. He looked up as she approached, a question in his eyes. "It was amazing," Avani said, her voice full of wonder. "I've never felt so understood." Clay's face broke into a wide grin. "I'm so glad, sis." He pulled her into a hug. "Ice cream to celebrate." Avani laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. Definitely ice cream. As they drove to their favorite ice cream parlor, Avani felt a sense of peace settle over her. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she wasn't alone. She had her family, her new friends from the support group, and most importantly, she had herself. Her true self. The ice cream parlor was a cheerful place with pastel-colored walls and the sweet scent of waffle cones in the air. Avani and Clay settled into a booth, each with a towering sundae in front of them. "So," Clay said, digging his spoon into a mound of chocolate ice cream, "tell me more about the meeting. If you want to, that is." Avani smiled, stirring her strawberry sundae thoughtfully. It was liberating. Everyone there had such different stories, but we all understood each other in a way I've never experienced before. She told Clay about Meg's warm welcome, about a trans man named Oliver who had just started his own journey, and about an older woman named Grace who had transitioned later in life and offered words of wisdom to the younger members. "There was this one moment," Avani said, her eyes shining, "when we were all sharing our aha moments. You know, when we first realized we were trans. And as everyone was talking, I just felt this wave of rightness, like, yes, this is me. This is who I've always been." Clay reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "I'm so happy for you, Avani. You deserve this." As they finished their ice cream, Avani's phone buzzed with a text. It was from their mother. "How did the meeting go?" "Proud of you, sweetheart." Avani's heart swelled as she typed back a reply, telling her mom about the positive experience. The journey of acceptance with her mother was still ongoing, but moments like these filled Avani with hope. The next few months were a whirlwind of changes and challenges. Avani continued with her hormone therapy, each day bringing subtle shifts that aligned her outer appearance more closely with her true self. She attended therapy sessions, both individually and with her family, working through years of complex emotions and building stronger relationships. One particularly memorable day came when Avani decided it was time to update her wardrobe. She'd been gradually incorporating more feminine clothing into her daily life, but she wanted to fully embrace her style. Clay and their mother, Diane, accompanied her to the mall. As they entered the women's clothing section, Avani felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Diane, sensing her daughter's apprehension, gave her a gentle nudge. "What catches your eye, sweetie?" Avani's gaze was drawn to a rack of flowing summer dresses in various patterns. She reached out, her fingers brushing against a deep green dress with delicate white flowers. "That would look lovely on you," Diane said, her voice warm with encouragement. With growing confidence, Avani selected a few dresses, some blouses, and a pair of skinny jeans. As she disappeared into the fitting room, Clay and Diane exchanged proud smiles. "Mom," Clay said softly, "I just want to say thank you for being here, for supporting Avani. It means everything to her, to both of us." Diane's eyes misted over. "Oh, honey, I'm just sorry it took me so long to get here, but I'm so grateful I have the chance to know my daughter for who she truly is." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of the fitting room door opening. Avani stepped out, wearing the green floral dress. "Oh, Avani," Diane breathed, her hand flying to her heart. "You look beautiful." Avani twirled, a radiant smile on her face. "I feel beautiful." As they left the store, bags full of new clothes, Avani felt a sense of rebirth. Each new item was a step towards fully expressing her true self to the world. The journey wasn't always smooth. There were days of dysphoria, moments of self-doubt, and encounters with people who didn't understand. But Avani faced each challenge with growing strength, buoyed by the support of her family and her friends from the support group. One evening, as summer faded into autumn, Avani sat on the porch swing at her family's home. The air was cool, carrying the scent of fallen leaves. She wrapped her cardigan tighter around herself, lost in thought. Clay joined her, 2 steaming mugs of hot chocolate in his hands. He passed one to Avani before settling beside her on the swing. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked, bumping her shoulder gently with his. Avani took a sip of the hot chocolate, savoring the rich sweetness. I was just thinking about how much has changed in the past few months. How much I've changed. Clay nodded, encouraging her to continue. It's like, for so long, I was living in this fog. Everything was muted, distant. And now it's like the fog has lifted. Colors are brighter, feelings are more intense, both the good and the bad. But even on the hard days, I wouldn't trade this clarity for anything. Clay wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. I'm so proud of you, Avani. You're the bravest person I know. Avani leaned into her brother's embrace, feeling a surge of gratitude for his unwavering support. I couldn't have done it without you and Mom. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, sipping their hot chocolate and watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. You know, Clay said eventually, I was thinking, your birthday's coming up next month. What do you think about having a party to celebrate you, the real you? Avani's heart skipped a beat. The idea both thrilled and terrified her. I don't know. Do you think people would come? Clay chuckled. Are you kidding? Everyone from the support group would be there in a heartbeat. And I know Mom would love to help plan it. As the idea took root, Avani felt a spark of excitement. Maybe we could do it here, in the backyard? Clay grinned. Now you're talking. We could string up lights, get some of those fancy cupcakes you love. As they brainstormed party ideas, Avani felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the hot chocolate. This birthday would be different from any other. It would be a celebration not just of another year, but of her true self, finally free to shine. The weeks leading up to Avani's birthday were a flurry of planning and preparation. Diane threw herself into party organizing with enthusiasm, clearly relishing the chance to celebrate her daughter. Clay took charge of the guest list, coordinating with Avani's friends from the support group and a few trusted colleagues from work. The day of the party dawned bright and clear, the autumn air crisp but not too cold. Avani stood in front of her mirror, smoothing down the front of her new dress. It was a deep burgundy with long sleeves and a swirling skirt that fell just below her knees. She'd paired it with black ankle boots and simple silver jewelry. Her hair, longer now, fell in soft waves around her face. She'd experimented with makeup over the past few months, and today she'd opted for a natural look, just a touch of mascara, a hint of blush, and a soft pink lipstick. A knock at the door broke her reverie. Come in, she called. Diane entered, her eyes immediately welling up with tears. Oh, Avani, you look stunning. Avani smiled, a mix of nerves and excitement fluttering in her stomach. Thanks, Mom. How are things looking downstairs? Everything's ready, Diane assured her. Clay's just finished hanging the last of the lights in the backyard. Are you ready to come down? Guests will be arriving soon. Avani took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. I'm ready. As they descended the stairs, the sound of the doorbell rang through the house. Clay's voice called out, I'll get it. Avani paused at the bottom of the stairs, listening as Clay greeted the first guests. She recognized Meg's voice, along with a few others from the support group. You've got this, Diane whispered, giving her hand a squeeze before heading towards the kitchen. Avani stepped into the living room just as Clay was ushering in Meg, Oliver, and Grace from her support group. Their faces lit up when they saw her. Avani! Meg exclaimed, rushing forward to envelop her in a hug. You look amazing! Happy birthday! As Avani thanked them and accepted their gifts, more guests began to arrive. Soon the house was filled with the buzz of conversation and laughter. People spilled out into the backyard where strings of twinkling lights created a magical atmosphere as the sun began to set. Avani moved through the crowd, greeting friends and accepting birthday wishes. She felt a sense of wonder at the gathering. All these people were here for her to celebrate her true self. As the evening progressed, Clay clinked a spoon against his glass, calling for everyone's attention. If I could have everyone's attention for a moment, he said, his voice carrying across the backyard. I'd like to propose a toast to my incredible sister, Avani. A hush fell over the gathering as all eyes turned to Avani. She felt a blush rising in her cheeks, but Clay's warm smile gave her courage. Avani, Clay continued, his voice thick with emotion. Watching you become your true self over these past months has been the greatest privilege of my life. Your courage, your determination, and your authenticity inspire me every day. To Avani, may this year bring you all the joy and love you deserve. Happy birthday, sis! A chorus of happy birthday rang out as everyone raised their glasses. Avani felt tears prickling at her eyes, overwhelmed by the love and acceptance surrounding her. As the party continued, Avani found herself in a quiet corner of the yard with Grace, the older woman from her support group. Grace's silver hair gleamed in the soft light, her eyes wise and kind. How are you feeling, dear? Grace asked, patting Avani's hand. Avani smiled, her heart full. Grateful, overwhelmed. I never imagined I could have this. People who accept me, celebrate me. Grace nodded, understanding in her eyes. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? To be seen and loved for who you truly are. Was it like this for you? Avani asked, curious about Grace's journey. Grace chuckled softly. Oh, my journey was quite different. I transitioned later in life, you see. It was a different time, with different challenges. But the joy of finally being true to myself, that's universal, my dear. As they talked, Avani felt a deep sense of connection to Grace, to everyone at the party, to herself. This celebration wasn't just about her birthday. It was about embracing her identity, about the journey she'd undertaken and the road ahead. The party wound down as the night grew late. Avani said goodbye to her guests, her heart full to bursting with love and gratitude. As the last guest left, she found herself in the kitchen with Clay and Diane, surrounded by dirty dishes and leftover cake. So, Clay said, a grin spreading across his face. Good birthday. Avani laughed, pulling both Clay and Diane into a group hug. The best birthday. Thank you both for everything. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.